everybody, welcome back to my channel. First thing I would like to say that I have not mentioned before is that since my leg wound's back in March, so we're talking, it's a little less than 2 months of me having to be on like wound care rest. The only way to describe it, because it's not bed rest, but it's like there's certain things I just can't do because of the wounds, and obviously they're healing and getting better every day. They're just going slow. In fact, my leg wounds are, there are 4 of them, and only one of them actually is bleeding. Not currently like this moment, but bleeds daily a little bit, and the rest of them are really healing up super nice. I actually think I need to do probably a picture update for you guys, I think. And my back is like growing so much skin, it's incredible. So that's the progress, verbal progress. Let's see if I can remember to put the picture progress in here. But a side effect of that is that I don't want to say it's my depth perception, because that's been going because of my eyes for a while, but the angle of things. So my center of gravity, maybe, is that what it could be? My gravitational orientation. Kind of feel like I'm making words up as we go along, like that. So I just think I'll put my brush in the thing, and sorry about that. My new brain, what I'm saying is how I perceive the level. I perceive gravitational level. My perception is off for that. Like, every once in a while I look over and it looks like my refrigerator is falling over, and my refrigerator is obviously standing up. It's me that's leaned over. But what I just went to go put this brush in the cup, and the brush has to go in the cup like this. If I look at the cup perfectly right now, that's the brush going in up and down, but you see what angle I'm at. So every once in a while, like, my brain is having like, oh, it's basic. I'm sure it's got to do with spatial orientation, gravitational orientation, I don't know, but it's off because of being at, and I can't sit at a 50-degree angle, and when I sit at a 30-degree angle, it really isn't much better than this. But I can't really sit on my back or my butt that long, sit up. Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. Good morning. This morning we haven't had breakfast yet, and I would like to talk about it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, I don't want to say my marriage, because then you guys will be like, stop picking on Jim, he does so much. I had a comment yesterday, and when I do have a comment of how some people perceive me, what I say, my marriage, my life, what's going on in the situation, I talk to my husband about it. First I think about it, I ponder, and I think there's any merit to it. Then I'll do a head scratcher. And like, a lot of times I had gotten comments in the past of how, like, Jim's such a good guy and I'm taking such advantage of him. I treat him like dirt. And I actually was like, took a step back that whole period, and I was like, oh my God, am I treating my husband like dirt? Like, is it something that I don't see? I was talking to the social worker the other day, and I said, my drama is reactionary. And what I mean by that is, I'm not a person who looks to have drama in the world, but I can act dramatically in a fashion, or act dramatically to a situation. And I don't mean overly dramatic. I just meant like, sometimes a situation can, I'll tell you, I'm usually a very calm, cool, collected person when it comes to like crisis situations, but every once in a while a situation will pop up, and I feel like I've become a person who's like, oh my God, and then I'll be like, oh, let's like slow down and take this the right, like how I used to be. I'm leading to something, I promise. And forgive me if I get lost, because the train is really running on slow. No, actually, I'm facing backwards in the platform, and the train's on high speed is really more like it. So I had a comment yesterday. Somebody, and I can't even tell you how long ago it was, because I think I mentioned in a previous video that, I think it was the final babble video. I feel like I mentioned that I'm going back and I'm reading questions. So there's a way to search and sort and filter the comments. Basically, that's why some people like, you deleted my comment and I've never seen their comment, because their comment will go into held for review. And when they look at their YouTube, they see their question, but their question is in a folder for me. Nobody else can see their question. And it's in a folder for me to decide whether or not I want to make that a public question. Now, I mentioned it in the video, in case you didn't watch it, because the way it was titled. Some people don't watch videos because of the way they're titled. That's fine. I can't make videos for everybody. I have to take my socks off, so give me 1 second while I talk to you. Today is colder out than my family would like, and they asked if they could put the heat on, so now, of course, I'm sweating. It's like, why can't I have a cold batch? But it's because I'm not on the treatment right now, so that's okay. So anyway, some people don't watch that video because of the way things are titled, so let me just touch on that really quick again. I have keywords that I have held. Anything, if you put one of my keywords in the comment, it will be held for review. It'll come to me first before it's made public. Now, the bad part about that is I haven't been able to do comments. So some comments are like 2-3 years old. If I haven't been able to answer your regular comments, like, well, obviously not the last month, but previously, if I wasn't able to answer your regular comments and everybody's everyday comments, there's no way I was getting to the held to review folder, you know. So I've been doing that. Okay. That's not there. That's not normal, but maybe because the way I'm laying, I'll like sinners to look at it. The held for review folder, and when I'm done with the held for review folder, then I'm going back and I'm like searching comments with questions. Now, some questions are obviously people just being, you know, sarcastic and facetious or whatever, but some of them are actual questions. And one of the questions I had was on a video that wasn't that long ago, talking about what did my sisters, because they said sisters, and I'll tell you what I answered. What do your sisters expect Jim to do? What kind of more care could he be giving? And I'm paraphrasing right now because I really can't remember verbatim, but, you know, poor guy's running himself ragged or whatever. And I'm like, and I told him, this is how it goes. And I'll tell you again, if you watched me say this before, and I apologize that I'm repeating myself, but it's kind of this is the background to what I'm leading up to today. So Jim was here when I was answering the comments, and I do talk to text, so he hears everything. And before I publish it, I say, did I misspeak, or did I say anything? Or actually, I'll have the thing read it back to me, and sometimes words are wrong. But once they're fixed, I'll turn to him and I'll say, is that any of that, did I perceive any of that wrong, or did I misspeak, or did I speak out of turn, or whatever? And every time yesterday, he was like, no. There was actually one thing that I said was like a little bit of sarcasm, but kind of not really. And he was like, don't do that. And I was like, no, it really is just a joke though. But I'll tell you what that is in a second. Excuse me. It's the same comment, by the way. And again, I'm not feeding into haters. When somebody asks me like I mentioned before, if somebody asks me a question, whether it's whatever their motivation behind asking the question is, I will answer it. Because, yes, questions pop into mean people's heads, and they say questions meanly, and they mean them with disdain, but I'm assuming that they could be popping into other people's heads as well. So I don't address, like, the negativeness, because if I felt it was truly negative, I would remove it, and I wouldn't respond to it. But I will tell you about it. You know, I kind of feel like that. So, I'm trying to remember exactly. So I'm just putting lip stuff on. Sorry, guys. She had said, what does your family expect him to do? Yada, yada, yada. And I said, well, here's the thing. Again, this is not verbatim. My sister's expectation of care Well, not everybody has the same expectation of care. Not everybody has the same expectation of how a person should be cared, like how they should be cared for. Not everybody even has the same expectation of what they deserve. Like, everybody's different. Like, I mean, we know that, and I know you guys know that, and I know I talked about this in the video day before yesterday, but I know you know that. We know that everybody's different. We know that everybody reacts different to everything. We know everybody's raised differently. Everybody has a different set of morals, a different set of values, a different set of priorities, and that's a big one too. So what I had said was, look, my parents taught us to go the extra. My mother was basically gave so to her community that she was exhausted. Like, she, did scouts, and then she coached softball and bowling, and then she volunteered at the fire department. She taught religious education. I mean, till the day she died. All of this happened till the day she died at 49. And my father, growing up in the restaurant business, you're taught hospitality and basically that level of care. So me and my sisters know what level of care we each give to our family, respective families, spouses, and such. But also, each one of my family members knows that the people that they're married to do not give that in return most of the time. I mean, there is times where our spouses have stepped up, of course, and that's not even Jim. But it's not like that expectation of care. Now, that being said, even with my sister's having thyroid cancer, and my sister's having knee replacement surgery, or my sister having knee replacement surgery, my sister's having injuries. Nobody's ever gone through this particular type of thing that's lasted this long, where it's a combination of cancer and injuries and wounds. Like, all of the things that my sisters have ever gone through, I'm getting them all at once. So, the expectation of care in my family is at a certain level. And maybe it's at your level too. Maybe you are the kind of person who goes above and beyond what is expected. Alexa, turn on bedroom lights. I don't know, maybe that'll help. Or maybe this will help. Well, I don't know. Hold on, guys. I just feel like I look so dark and dismal. Okay, let's try that. So maybe you have the same expectation of care. But I've mentioned this before. In this situation, spouses leave. Man, woman, it doesn't make a difference. I'm sure that statistics are different, but it can happen either way. So spouses leave. This is a very high stress situation. It gives a whole range of everything from your plans for the the kiboshed. You have your own. It reminds you of your own sense of like mortality, and you're gonna, the fear of losing somebody. It's that whole like it's easier to push somebody away than it is to lose them. So there's a whole lot that the spouse goes through, and I understand that. So there, maybe on one spectrum is my family, and maybe on the other spectrum is the people who leave, and there's a whole bunch of gray stuff between there. There's all levels. And according to some people, what Jim is doing is way more than they would have ever expected. Some people think that's the opposite because of the way that they were raised and their sense of expectation of care. Now, that being said, all of that background to say, I mentioned in the comments, so even if that you think that Jim is doing above and beyond, and I tell him every day that everything he does for me, I'm grateful. And I say thank you so much. Every once in a while I have to stop and say, I hope I don't say thank you too much, but I just really want you to know how much I appreciate everything you do for me. And every little thing I'm thankful for. You fill up my water. I'm thankful that you were able to fill up my water. And I didn't have to put on my brace, get in the rollator, roll out to the kitchen. Oh my gosh, I forgot the cup. Roll back in here, grab the cup. Like, yes, you're going to the kitchen if you filled up my water. That'd be great. That being said, I can still be grateful for all that my husband does for me, and I can still feel neglected from time to time. I can be satisfied with my level of care and still think that there could be more out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go to dinner, you have a nice meal. It's not a huge portion, it's a decent portion. And you were hungry, but you ate their decent portion and you're like, I'm satisfied. I could eat more. I really don't think I could have eaten less. I probably have the minimum amount of food in my body to feel satisfied. But there's definitely more I could have. I could have a second portion. I can have dessert. I can, go for a salad now or something. And I'm just using food as an example because people eat. So just because something is satisfying and something is enough, it doesn't mean there can't be more. So what I had said to her in the comments is, I thank Jimmy for everything that he does for me. I'm so grateful that he's here every day. But that doesn't mean that sometimes I don't feel neglected. He'll tell me he'll be right back and he'll disappear for 2 hours because he'll get lost in the game on the computer, or, ADHD will take over and he'll start changing out the laundry and end up cleaning the mudroom or straightening. It just happens. And I understand, except you have a wife that you need to help because she can't do these certain things. So normally your bouts of 2 hours of disappearing, maybe I needed your help off the commode because I was having a weekday. And now I won't sit on the commode for 2 hours. I will call my husband on the phone before I sit for 2 hours on the commode. But definitely gets to a point where look, my legs are falling asleep. You've got to come in and help me now. And he'll be really apologetic and, say all these things. But that doesn't mean, and he did come and help me, so I'm grateful, but it doesn't mean I didn't feel neglected in the moment. I didn't feel forgotten about. I didn't feel like my level of care or my entitlement was the word she used, or somebody else used actually in her comment. I apologize. But somebody was like, oh, maybe your sisters just feel entitled like she does. What does that even mean, entitled? First of all, we as Americans are some of the bunch of the most entitled people, starts with a B, ends with a H's, in the world. And I don't mean everybody, obviously. But we have an expectation of freedom. We have an expectation of, I'm going to turn on the faucet and water's going to come out. We have an expectation that we'll flick a switch and lights will come on. We have an expectation that nobody's going to come in my house and steal my stuff. I have an expectation that when I go to the doctor, he's going to help me get better. And I have an expectation that when I go to the grocery store, food's going to be there if I have money in my bank account. I have an expectation when I go to work, I'm going to get a decent paycheck. That might be a pipe dream, but still it's an expectation. So yes, we feel entitled because we've been raised that you deserve to be cared for and loved. And, do I sit here and say, look, I'm the Queen of Sheba, and I need you to fan me with 27 peacock feathers tied together in a bow? No. But I do say, hey, how about you don't forget about me for 2 hours? I'm sitting here starving. Or one night last week, I actually said to him, because it was going on for quite a few days in a row. And I do feel really bad when I say stuff like this. But I said to him, I'm like, could you please just get me my dinner first? If you just have to reheat it and maybe put in a bag of microwave vegetables. I'll be like, because it takes me longer to eat because of my mouth. And I said, when you feed me after you guys have eaten, you're ready to come in here, settle, and do wound care. And I'm just eating. It's just a whole time management situation. And I'm not mad at Jim's lack of time management. Understand this. But I'm not mad even that he forgets me. It's just disappointing. And I feel neglected. And especially if I just asked if you could do this for me first, and then you continue to not do what I asked you. Like, what should my response be as a spouse? You ask your husband, like, if you're, even if you're, especially when your husband asks you, what do you want for your anniversary? What do you want for anniversary? Well, I looked at the budget and we can really afford a new waffle maker, and I really want a waffle maker for anniversary. I'd really love to be able to make waffles again. I haven't made waffles in a long time. And you end up getting a freaking toaster that you don't need and you didn't ask for, but hey, that also makes waffles. Okay, you want to be grateful for your toaster, but you still don't have a waffle maker. And now you have two toasts. Like, it's just I don't know how to give you guys the scenario that will help you relate to the situation. So, as it is, I can't eat what they eat. And when he cooks, it smells amazing. He's getting all of these every plate meals, and they're foods that he would never make, that he would never try making before. The same thing when he got the Nordic cookbook. All of that was new to him. He'd never made salmon before he got the Nordic cookbook. He had never eaten arugula before that he knew about, before he got the Nordic cookbook. So when I say to him, doctor said we should make our own applesauce, and the doctor, no joke, my primary care physician, because we talked about the applesauce that's manufactured has acid in it because they want it from turning brown and they want it as a preservative. But when you make your own applesauce, you don't have to add sugar. You can add all the cinnamon you want, and you don't have to put the lemon juice in it. Now, a lot of recipes have lemon juice, but you don't have to, because I don't care if my applesauce goes brown. As a matter of fact, if it gets softer, that's even better. So Doc literally said, with this amount of applesauce, you could just throw the whole apple in, and then mash them and strain them to get the seeds out and stuff. And I was like, oh, I thought you could eat, if you ate apple seeds, they have cyanide in them. She's like, you'd have to have a lot of apple seeds, more than you're going to get in a bushel of apples. I saw the doctor in January, and it's May. Ask me if we made applesauce. Ask me how many bags of apples we've thrown out, because he's going to make it for me this weekend. And again, there is forgetfulness. There is time management. But obviously, I'm here to remind him. I'm here to even say, help me. I got my brace on. If I'm tired, I'll say, help me put my brace on, and I'll come out, and I'll help you. I'll encourage you. If you don't want to work the Instant Pot, or you don't want to throw everything in the crock pot, I will come and help you. If you don't want to boil them on the stove, I'll come and help you. Whatever you need, I'll come and help. But ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't want me to help. He doesn't want me to get hurt. I do understand that. But then please just partially do what I'm asking. Just a little. Like, I tried to. So anyway, let me finish the background story. She's like, so the expectation of care, the level of care that a person's expecting, obviously is individual. The stuff that you guys see, and Jim is overwhelmed. Jim can get overwhelmed easily. And when he gets on his vlogs, he talks about how overwhelmed he can be. I want you to know on my end, and I've had people say, stop being so demanding. I want you to know on my end, I demand nothing. Even when my commode is overfull, and I'm not trying to be gross, I'm not trying to be graphic, even to the point where it's overfull, where I can't really clean myself properly because I'll end up, wetting the tissues before I dry the area. I still don't even demand. I just remind him, or I ask him with urgency, or I ask him with urgency in my voice, or with urgency in the statement. Like, you really have to do the commode. And I told him the other day, because I told him this when we first got it, because he was really having a lot of trouble with what was being asked of him. And I said, we have a 5-gallon bucket. If it is that hard for you to do it on, slowly or whatever, I said, I can empty the commode and clean it out and put it in the 5-gallon bucket. And then you could just, once a week, you could just slowly pour that down. Don't worry, guys, he hasn't done that yet. But every time it gets to the point where it's really bad and he just keeps forgetting or putting it off, that's another thing we'll get to maybe someday. Putting it off until someone else does it. I forgot what I was going to say. Because I started thinking about the other thing I was going to mention. I still am never demanding of it. That's what I was trying to say. So if he keeps pushing off, I won't even say, hey, look, stop what you're doing right now because you've got to empty my commode. I'll say, like, listen, and I'm not trying to be passive aggressive. I'm not trying to be manipulative. These are facts. And I was like, my commode's so full that I have to empty it. I think I'm going to pour it in the 5-gallon bucket. And that's when he'll step up and be like, no, I'll do it right now. And then he gets upset because the longer it sits, the more intolerable it is to empty. I don't know how else to put it without making people's breakfast come up. But the longer it sits there, the worse it is what I was trying to say. And I don't want him to have to run every time I pee. I'm over 50. I have kidney cancer. I have a giant tumor on my kidney. I have to drink plenty of water because I'm a type 2 diabetic. I pee a lot. And I don't want him to have to run here every time I pee and take care of it. But, you know, there's things we put in the water to prevent that from, becoming an issue. But it also gets to the point where, like, this is it. It's done. Like, there's nothing I can do to salvage this situation. That thing needs to get emptied one way or another. So fortunately, I've never had to use the 5-gallon bucket. The 5-gallon bucket is actually there to hold the commode bowl up because that particular commode is got one piece of plastic because it's like a bariatric one, and because I'm not as wide as I used to be, I pressed it. Actually, since I got it, I sit down in the middle and it kind of like makes the plastic like this, then it makes the bucket fall out. So we ended up putting a 5-gallon bucket under there, holding the commode bucket. Okay. All that to be said. So I actually asked back in the comments, should I be neglected? Should I allow myself to not be taken care of? Should I allow myself to be abused? And he doesn't abuse me, but I'm just asking how far it's supposed to go. What is it that you think I should be? I said, are you saying I should be kicked to the curb like you want? I don't understand. Do we feel we're entitled to stuff? Like life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's right there written down for you. And yeah, you can't grow up your whole life with people telling you deserve better. You deserve better. You deserve more. You don't stand for this. Don't let anybody abuse you, take advantage of you, and then not have an expectation of entitlement to certain things. It's bizarre, and it's bizarre how the reaction is. And I know most of you do not react that way, but also most of you are the silent majority. You really are. It's like it's like the January 6th people. There are 2 billion people in this planet, and there was, I don't know, was it a couple of thousand people, a couple of hundred people? I don't know the statistics, and we focus on them and what's their motivation and why did they do what they did and all this stuff. But meantime, what about all the billions and billions of people who aren't doing anything wrong and living their best lives and that type of thing? So